Hello, I'm Chris, welcome back to FRAG-MENTAL. Thank you for joining me. It's 2024 and we're kicking off with a good one. Another year, another list, but not just any old list. The public have voted for the best men's perfume of all time. Do I own them? I hope so. Do you own them? Let's find out. Users of the Fragrantica website have once again been voting in various categories, but this is the big one. Best men's fragrances of all time. How many of these fragrances do you own, and are they really the best of all time? At number 10 is one of my favourite fresh fragrances of all time. Actually, it's probably my favourite fresh fragrance of all time. Acqua Profumo. This is a superb fragrance with an ocean saltiness, brilliantly executed herbal notes and incense. Most people who aren't into fragrances will love the smell of this on a man. It has all the characteristics that we would traditionally associate with a men's cologne. It's fresh, it's clean, and let's be honest, who doesn't love a clean man? Better than a dirty man. What's so good about this fragrance is it takes these traditional, fresh, clean, masculine cologne qualities and gives it a sexy, modern twist. Interestingly though, it's the discontinued Profumo that has been voted for on the Fragrantica list. But don't worry, the recently released Acqua Parfum is basically just Profumo rebadged. So if you can only get your hands on the newer Parfum, you're good. At number 9 is a niche fragrance that each year has been dropping further and further down the list. Creed's Aventus. Is the once mighty king losing its appeal? Are people just getting a bit tired of Aventus? It was up at 4th best in 2021, 7th last year, so it keeps on slipping down. Each year we get more and more Aventus smell-alikes, so most people out there can afford to smell like Aventus, even if they can't afford Aventus itself with all the clones and Mont Blanc Explorer. Perhaps for these reasons, Aventus, the king, is losing its prestige factor. I really enjoy it. I think it's a superb fragrance, and let's be honest, 9th best of all time is still pretty good, but what will be interesting is it going to be in the top 10 list next year? If it slips down another 2 places, it's out. Occupying the exact same spot as last year at number 8, from Viktor and Rolf, it's Spicebomb Extreme. Attention-grabbing, sexy spices, cozy, sensual vanilla, and rich tobacco. Spicebomb Extreme is a banger. It's an attention-grabbing compliment getter for sure, but it's also packed full of attitude and also tons of fun. It's been in the top 10 list for the last few years, so it is consistently loved by many. A winter staple for me, beautifully made, one of my favourite designer fragrances of all time. Wear this and people are just gonna wanna make sweet, sweet smiles at you. Definitely deserves to be in the list. At number 7 is a fragrance that slipped down a couple of spots since last year, but it's still very much in the game. Dior Homme Parfum. Deep woods, leather, and that sexy signature Dior Homme iris. Dior Homme Parfum is incredible. Many would call this a masterpiece. Many would agree with that. It's got depth and sophistication, as well as being very assertive and rugged and manly. That lipsticky iris still smells very modern, man-like, and continues to be a very crowd-pleasing fragrance. I love how confidence-inspiring it is with its weight and insane gravitas. Dior Homme Parfum makes an emphatic statement and should probably be in everyone's fragrance arsenal. Another parfum, a Le Parfum to be exact, and I think this is a brand new entry in the best of all time list. Jean-Paul Gaultier's La Malle Le Parfum. It takes some of the DNA of the original, increases the vanilla, and drops in some of that trending iris. I'm pretty surprised this is here, but very pleasantly surprised because I think it smells fantastic. I think this has become the La Malle for the modern age. The original is now perhaps a little dated, people have moved on, but for all the original La Malle lovers who've maybe grown up a little bit, entered a new phase of life, like me, we've maybe grown out of the original La Malle and grown into a fragrance more like La Malle Le Parfum, which smells more modern and a little bit more grown up. I know there's been a lot of love for La Malle Elixir this year, but I'm not surprised that this one is on the list because Le Parfum has been out for longer, so it's had more time to percolate in people's minds and gain popularity. I think Elixir is still too new to make it onto a best of all time list. It does lean a little sweet as well, making it a bit less versatile. Maybe it's more suited to cooler temperatures, whereas I think you could wear this fragrance all year round. I'm not sure though it would make it onto my personal best of all time list, but I still think it is a very good fragrance and is certainly not out of place on this list.
If you love fragrance as much as I do, head over to my online store luxparfum.co.uk. You'll find my favourite brands plus brands you can't find anywhere else in the UK. Link is in the description.
At 5 though, we do have an Elixir. This is a brand new entry in the list. It's not been in the best of all time list before. This is Sauvage Elixir. A little bit carried over from the original Sauvage, but this dials up the spices and lavender to create an absolute beast of a fragrance. Very strong stuff, so strong in fact you've got to be careful not to overspray this fragrance. If you do, you are in danger of choking people out, and choking ain't good. Big flex from Dior when they released this, because they moved away from the tried and tested smell of all the other Sauvages and created an entirely new fragrance, and an entirely better fragrance. Bold moves by the brand, because they took a creative risk, but they did it with such confidence and assuredness. It makes me really excited to see what Dior are going to release next. Dior rarely drop the ball. With Sauvage Elixir, they've knocked that ball right out of the park. For me, this one could actually be higher up the list. Another sexy, spicy, compliment-getting scent at number 4 from Parfum de Marly, Layton. Fruit, spice and vanilla just leaps off the skin with this ever popular offering from Parfum de Marly. You can't really go wrong with this fragrance. It's so well done. It's very mass appealing, but at the same time has an interesting bit of complexity. Not too fussy, not too complex, but just enough to grab that attention. I'd actually be surprised if this wasn't the most popular fragrance from the brand due to its versatility and easy to wear nature. It helps that it has excellent performance. It seems so common these days for fragrances to start strong and then just fade all too quickly. Not the case though with Layton. It's got great performance, smells fantastic. This definitely deserves to be in the number 4 spot. Holding on to its number 3 spot, this one has been in the top 3 for the last few years, so consistently voted one of the best fragrances of all time. It's Terre. Pretty fresh with the orange note, but with a lovely, dry, woody vetiver. A modern classic, crisp, clean, and sophisticated. Still my favourite of all the Terre fragrances. It manages to perfectly straddle classic and modern, making it a truly timeless scent. It's a fresh, spicy scent that has amazing versatility because it can be worn all year round. It will always impress, never offend. You just can't go wrong with Terre. Fully deserving of its high listing. Also holding on to the same place as last year, at number 2, it's Bleu de Chanel EDP. Very different to Terre, but I'd still call this a fresh, masculine, modern classic. Like Dior, Chanel always seem to get it right. They've got so much experience, they kind of know what they're doing. EDP is arguably the best of all the Bleus because it has the best of both worlds in terms of managing to balance the depth and the freshness, making it probably the most versatile of all of them. Many of us feel that Chanel are overdue for a big new fragrance release, but you have to admire the confidence they have with their existing lines by just sticking with what they know sells and what they know people like. Also, you have to admire that they've not done the lazy thing and fallen into the Elixir trap and released Bleu Elixir. Don't do that, Chanel. I'm sure it would be good, but don't do that. Do what you do best. Create, innovate, and spark a whole new trend with your next fragrance release. Be a leader and not a follower. We'll wait patiently with bated breath. This fragrance has been at number 1 for the last 7 years. In fact, it's been at number 1 since Fragrantica started doing these awards, Dior Homme Intense. This is also my favorite designer fragrance of all time. Everything about this scent is mind-blowing. Find me a box it doesn't tick. It's sexy, it's wearable, it's versatile. Girls love it, guys love it, your mum loves it, your gran loves it. I mentioned that Dior rarely get it wrong, but in the case of Dior Homme Intense, they get it so right. They've hit that ball out of the park so hard, it's still flying through the air with an upwards trajectory and is showing no signs of starting its descent anytime soon. It's a masterpiece. Anyone can wear this fragrance. The sweet florals give it this amazing modern man masculine appeal. I'm not saying everyone's gonna love this fragrance because there are certainly people out there who don't love it, but that's okay. We can accept that some people can be wrong about stuff. Number 1 fragrance of all time? I'm down with that. I win the game because I own all of these fragrances. And to celebrate, I'm gonna wear each of these 10 fragrances for the next 10 days. Are there any fragrances you thought should have been on this list that weren't? I gotta be honest, a little bit sad that Ombre Leather dropped out of the top 10. Definitely one of my favorite fragrances. How many of them do you own? Let me know in the comments. Give this video a like if you liked it and you found it useful. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do all that, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. At number 5 though, we do have an Elixir.
Sorry, I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. It looks like there's an issue with the router and...
Elixir, not Alexa. You're fired. Can't get the staff these days.